This is Red Hot Reds Live. Here are your hosts, Ricky Logan and Roger Strauss.
Welcome to the Red Hot Reds podcast. I'm Roger Strauss. That's Ricky Logan. But today we are Red Hot's Reds Live. So welcome to the show. Thank you for your support. Thank you for you guys that have looked at and watched our other stuff and followed, subscribed, done other stuff. We've got podcasts about the outfield, the infield, the starting pitching, relief pitching, and the farm system in there, and also an interview with Reds Daily 4. Mr. Greg Kuffner was great enough to join us and talk about his experience as a Reds fan and talk about the 2025 Reds. Today is Sunday, 8 p.m. We are live, as we will be every Sunday at 8 p.m. to recap the week that is Reds baseball. This week, a little bit shorter, but lots of talking points, Ricky. Lots of things to go over. I mean, we could even go far as back as that prospect versus the big club on Tuesday that happened at Day Air Park in Dayton, Ohio, if you like. But, you know, this is kind of an open forum as well. We hopefully will be able to interact with you, take your questions, maybe have poll questions, all sorts of things. We're going to do all sorts of different stuff than we have had already done in the past. And, yeah, this is for you guys to recap your Cincinnati Reds. And Ricky, how are you doing?
Doing great. We got some crazy weather in our area here, so hopefully everything goes the way it's supposed to go, and we survive the night. So
yeah, and hopefully the internet connections all stay intact for us and for the fans and whomever else will be tuning in throughout the show. We're really excited to do this because, Ricky and I have been going back and forth about, topics and what we wanted to do with this show. We really like the format that we did where we previewed the 2025 Reds with the different units of the club. Really like the idea of doing interviews, and the interviews we got coming up. Stay tuned. Ricky's going to be, showing out different previews, clips, different things like that. Going to be throwing it all out there to get you all hyped up about the interviews we got coming down the line. But yeah, Ricky, I mean, not necessarily the best opening series that we could have had so far. Not necessarily the worst, I guess. We didn't get swept, so there's that. So a little positivity amongst the negativity. But how did you see the first series against the Giants? Or if you want, we can go back to Dayton as well. We had talking points about that game as well. That was very interesting in some different levels. But yeah, how did you see the first week of Reds baseball for you?
I think it was okay. It could have been worse. The Pirates got walked off at every game, so there's that. It'd be tough to be a Pirates fan right now. But yeah, Francona's got a lot to learn about this team, and I think he's doing well with what we have. Our bullpen looks really good. McLean, right where I want him to be. I'm excited. Yeah, I mean, what are you thinking?
Yeah, lots of things. I mean, going all the way back to the Dayton game, we were kind of going back and forth because it was kind of funny. We were actually in the middle of interviewing Greg, aka Mr. Reds Daily 4, and he was talking about how the prospects team was beating the big league club, but at the same time, when it was the fifth, sixth, or seventh inning, the big league club was actually full of prospects. So it was kind of like, it wasn't really exactly that the minor leaguers were beating the major leaguers. It was kind of the reverse because you had Benson and Marte basically on the prospects club beating up on prospects that were on the Reds team. So there was probably, as we like to go into it, and we will a little bit later in a segment that we like to call the Reds Facebook comment of the week. I'm sure there was plenty of Reds Facebook comments after that game on Tuesday against the prospects. And yeah, it was interesting. I think the biggest talking point that's going to come out of this first series is the manager's decisions. First off, game one, right off the bat, I'm sure everyone in Cincinnati's heard it. My wife's even talked about it as well. Why Ian Jabot? Any takes?
I think he thought it was just the best arm available at the time. He said post game that he probably could have flipped him and Pagan, and which he ended up doing in game 2. So what do? You live and you learn. It's his first game with the team. He's got to figure out who he got. Yeah, who do you have available? Rogers and Ashcraft, I think, was the only two he had left available. And Mole,
And
I think Mole came in and replaced him, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I think he made a good decision, and it just didn't work out the way it was supposed to.
Yeah, for me, I guess the biggest thing was, opening day. Hey, we're live,
Yeah,
baby.
We're live. We're live.
we're gonna tee that up in a second. Just hold on, everybody, for that. But the one thing that struck me was opening day, the way that it's going. Like even Greg kind of basically was laying out the whole script for us on Tuesday for that interview. That was going to come down 4-3, ninth inning, and I think he wanted Pagan, but Pagan got used earlier, unfortunately for that purpose of the save situation. So yeah, Jabot coming in with I guess the only, other than Ashcraft, the only right-hander that they had available. Yeah, it's a bit head scratching. The theory, go with me on this. This is maybe a little bit out of left field, but the theory I've got is Ian Jabot's out of options. He's on a minor league deal. He missed all of last year after injury. He's a known for Reds fans, not necessarily for Tito. Like Terry Francona doesn't know exactly what Ian Jabot can bring, but if he's out of options and he's a guy that's not necessarily, he was the last man to make the 26-man roster, right? Is the story. Maybe they're just trying to throw him out there and see what he's got, and if he sinks or swims, if he sinks, I wouldn't be surprised a couple weeks time or sooner he probably gets DFA'd if we've got better options coming out of the bullpen or AAA for that matter. Or if he does well, then he's helping the ball club. He's on a minor league deal. He's he's pitched 71 games in 2023, so it's not like he can't do the job. It's just I think Francona is just throwing him out there to see what he's got, and then let the chips fall. It's unfortunate because it was opening day, and a lot of people lamented that decision. Like, okay, you can do that. You can see what you got in Jabot, but why opening day? Do you think there's anything to that?
Yeah, I kind of see it. I look at it like, Alexis Diaz, if he makes the major league club, the way he performed in spring training probably does the same exact thing. So it's hard to tell. If any of those guys could have imploded. It's just Jabot's kind of like the easy guy to kick on just because he's not that established reliever that we have. I mean, we threw out veteran after veteran after veteran, and lights out, lights out, lights out, and then Jabot comes in, and he didn't do that bad. He almost got out of it. It's just the walk killed him, and then it just snowballed from there.
Yeah, for sure, and definitely, for me, I know it's probably, I don't want to jinx it or anything like that. It kind of felt like kind of the Reds of years past where every single little thing has to go right. You know what I mean? Like they got to get the timely hits. They have the defense from Jake Fraley out in right field to get that catch, I think in the 6th or 7th inning to keep, them 3-2. And then all of a sudden, like, boom, it all implodes at the wrong time, right? Jabot gets that couple walks or a walk and a hit, I think, and then Patrick Bailey hits the single to tie the game. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's Wilmar Flores going deep the next at bat. And it's just, you know what I mean? Obviously, the one thing that I think I was trying to take or keep in mind is what Francona said before opening day, that he kind of feels opening day is a little bit overblown because if you win the game, you have that next day off. You want to go back out there and play again on Friday, right? But if you lose the game and now you have the day off, now you're sitting with it for 48 hours until you play your next game. So opening day, having that game in between is kind of bad if you win, bad if you lose situation because You win the game, you want to play that next day to get the next win, to keep that momentum. You lose, you got 48 hours until Nick Lodolo takes the mound basically on Saturday, and you can't do anything about it, right? Like, it's the one thing about baseball, right? Like, you have so many games that you can pick yourself up after one loss or two losses and play the next day and hopefully win. Or, you know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, there could be some streaks where you're really up against it. And you kind of have to try to break out of that losing form. The other decision that I think was a hot topic was Game 3's lineup. Going up against lefty Robbie Ray for San Francisco. And I'll read off the lineup so we can refresh ourselves. For the Redlegs, leading off, Matt McLean, second base. Second, Santiago Espinal, right field. Third, our usual three-hitter, Ellie De La Cruz. Fourth, CES, who's been playing pretty well up until today. Unfortunately, he had not a great game. Candelario at third. Then Steer at DH. Lux in left field. Blake Dunn, our guy Blake Dunn at center field. And Austin Wins as catcher, as that Sunday catcher kind of thing. And, yeah, we talked about in a previous episode that we love Espinal. Well, at least I love Espinal when he's a backup infielder, not necessarily going out there in the outfield. What this is telling me is that, obviously Jake Fraley is the guy that's out in right field normally. Basically the lefty-lefty matchup that he wanted to have, Espinal basically have that righty-lefty matchup. And it seems like basically Fraley, even if Fraley did have a good matchup, I feel like Fraley has not had a great start to his 2025 campaign. So I don't know. I guess the thinking is trying to change it up on a getaway day or a Sunday day game. It just the results, we're kind of playing the results. At least I'm playing the results a little bit, in so much that they didn't get a hit until the sixth inning. Like, Robbie Ray dominated this lineup, even though this lineup was kind of set up against the lefty, right? So, like, it feels like, obviously you're going to try to throw your best lineup out there. You're going to try to get guys out there that are going to give your club the best chance to win, but it didn't feel like that was what's going on today. So what was your takeaways for today?
Yeah, I like Espinal every once in a while. I guess today was that once in a while. He did go 1 for 3, so it's not like he went out and, got shut out. But I'm not sold on Steer right now. It sucks because we don't have really anybody to fill in for him. He's just, I think the injury's more than what we think. And obviously you can't play the field right now because of it, but I think, what is he, 0 for 8 to start the season? So it's not a good start. Hopefully it's just, beginning of the season luck. But yeah, and then, back to Espinal batting second. I think, his baseball savant page, I don't think it does him justice, because that's the one thing about analytics, is you can't justify the person, and I think he's a good, like, bat to ball guy, and I think a lot of bat to ball is luck. And he seems like he looks like that like typical, like, Tito guy. It's like he's always got that one guy that's like the glue guy. And maybe for us that's Espinal. Maybe he goes back to what he was, and maybe plays a little bit more than once a week. I don't want to see him, like I think we said in an episode prior. I don't want to see him more than like 300 at bats in a season.
Yeah.
Like, if he hits 300, that's okay, but like any more than 300, I don't want it. And yeah, I'm like Candelario 0 for 4, and he's a slow starter. That's just every year wherever he's been. Opening day was kind of like that outlier. You get excited about it, and I don't know. I'm not. Yeah, I might be foreshadowing, but the base running error by Hurtubise to get the double play, you don't want to see that. And that I don't want to say it cost him the game, but in the end, it really cost him the chance. So yeah, it's hard. There's no way this is gonna be a lineup all the time. It's just what we got right now.
Yeah, I think that was my tornado signals now starting to go
me too.
off. Welcome to live broadcasting right now. We're hopefully going to have enough time to get through our topics, or at least enough of the show
There might
to
be
get this.
a tornado chasing here after a little while.
Yeah,
Live on the air.
yeah, for sure. And yeah, the decisions I think are kind of it's interesting because I think Francona came into obviously this season having probably the most illustrious career, illustrious resume of any Cincinnati Red manager ever, right?
Yeah.
Like the history of what he's done in this league, what he's done just even a small market team like Cleveland. It seems like I don't know, like is he like rusty? Like has it been a year of rust? Is it that like his feel? Because I don't know, like you even joked I think on Saturday you texted me because I was watching the game on opening day saying that Jabot's warming up for the ninth, and you're like really, and then you made the joke back on Saturday like Jabot's warming up for the ninth. I'm like no, come on, like this we can't be doing this, but because obviously it's early, small sample size. We're not gonna obviously win or lose the division in March. You know what I mean? Obviously, we're gonna see what kind of April we're gonna have. But it seems strange to have a game kind of like given away in a sense. You know what I mean? Jabot doesn't have that closer experience, right? Taylor Rogers obviously has a little bit more experience, but maybe he didn't like the lefty righty matchups. But I don't know. Then maybe you should have saved Centillion to do the ninth and have someone like Jabot come in earlier, right? Or Pagan, right? The flip flop comment, but I don't know, like the feel for the game as well, like in the sense of you know analytics is supposedly been the dominating decision maker for a lot of managers, but I don't know if there was any analytics thought process behind that at all or not. But I would like to think that the feel of the game that you would know, like, okay, we're gonna get to the sixth inning, seventh inning, and then when we get it and it's 3-2 going into the ninth, we're gonna go for someone who's got the stuff or got the mentality to get the game closed out. So I don't know. Obviously, it's one game that we kind of feel like should have went a different way, but they also only scored 3 runs that day, so or 4 runs, right? We tacked one on late, but I don't know. We'll probably not have this be a big deal if we have a decent May or decent April, decent May, but if not, it might be something that people come back and think about, and say, hey, some of these decisions that we made early on might have cost us a couple games here, a couple games there. But yeah, speaking of that, though, even though that decision was questioned by us, by media, by anyone in Cincinnati and in Reds country, his teammates, Jabot's teammates, backed him up. And one notable one, Hunter Greene. And yeah, it was pretty clear. Oh, it was pretty clear that everyone had as Jabot's back, even though that he was put in a tough position to to close out the game. And if you're ready, we'll roll that clip. But yeah, even so, it's oh, hey, we're live.
We are live.
And that's what I told him. I know people might not want to hear that, but people need to believe that because he is. The last couple of years he's been with us, he's been in very tight situations, and he's made it look easy getting out of them. This game's difficult. He wasn't able to do that today, but he's one of our best pitchers. So I know, once again, people might not want to hear that. Fans might not want to hear it, but they need to believe it because it is true.
So yeah, and obviously the comment we picked out from opening day was the flip flopping. That Tito, if he had a chance to change it, would put Pagan as a closer, and he had the chance to do that on Saturday and got the job done. So there's that. Also a 1-run win, which was something that didn't come a lot in 2024. So there's at least some positives to take out of this weekend. But I think the adage in baseball is that you win one, you lose one, and what determines what kind of season you have is basically how you do in the rubber match. If you win that rubber match or you lose that rubber match. And unfortunately on Sunday, it just seemed like the Reds didn't have enough. The bullpen, unfortunately, I think we had some talking points, Ricky, that we were really positive. Like we were real positive about how the bullpen had gone through the first 2 games or so, aside from the Jabot thing. But what were some of your takeaways again for the bullpen this series?
Yeah, the bullpen looks great. I mean, we didn't give up a run other than Jabot the first game. I don't think we allowed a run on the second game. Ashcraft looked good. You know, he gave up a couple hits, but what I wanted to see was how he would respond under adversity, and he responded well. So that was great. And yeah, I mean, we kind of went a little south today, but you know, 1 of 162 is the old adage. So yeah, I think our bullpen. I think we have a great veteran presence, and yeah, it's just great.
Yep, Barlow's been looking good so far, and who else was it from? Pagan looked pretty solid the last 2 outings that he had as well. So I think if Pagan is the closer going forward, I think we're feeling better than we did, right before opening day, and then obviously right after opening day. If Pagan can be that guy coming out and closing the 9th, until Diaz is ready, or until we've talked about Maxwell and May that are in AAA Louisville, and we'll touch on Louisville a little bit because they had a pretty decent weekend this weekend, to say the least. And if that is the case, Pagan would be a great guy to have, a veteran guy to have close out games in this early part of the season where we kind of have that closer void. But yeah, what about the starting pitching? I know we didn't really go over this, but the starting pitcher I feel has been fantastic the first part of the season.
Yeah, I mean Hunter Greene looked like a certified ace. Lodolo looked, he had his command was off, but he powered through it. He didn't rely on the strikeouts. I think this was the first time in his career he had an outing with 1 strikeout, and it's just you power through that, and you still kept your team in the game, and then in the end, the team got the win. So yeah, it's pretty great. And then Martinez started out well, and then just kind of went crap hit the fan. So yeah, what are your thoughts on I guess specifically Martinez? People are going to say, oh, he's the highest paid player. He better perform, because even like I've heard people say, like, even when Joey Votto, he was paid all this money, even though he did perform, they wanted more. And it's just, it's unfair expectations.
Yeah, especially he's going against Robbie Ray, who was like lights out for the first 5 innings. You know what I mean? Like it's difficult. He did keep us in the game somewhat up until, again, I think he got in trouble in the 6th as well, and that ended his night. But the one thing I guess to remind the fans is that Frankie Montas was the highest paid pitcher in 2024, pitched great opening day, and then after that, just stunk it up. So, like, I think we have a long enough track record on Nick Martinez to know that this is not him necessarily every single outing. Is he going to be the Hunter Greene dominant, blow guys away, get strong whiff rates type of pitcher? I don't think so. But the thing about the Reds might need is that they might need Nick Martinez's flexibility throughout the season, whether he goes back in the bullpen or he's the rubber arm that's starting out of nowhere when some guys need rest or whatnot, or he's going to be one of the top line guys because he's got his stuff that month, that week. You know what I mean? So I don't know. The hefty price tag obviously stands out, but at the same time, like, I think the way that the Reds, we talked about their construction of like getting starters into the building, getting Singer, getting guys like Burns and Lauder in the draft. Like, they want to stockpile their arms. They're going to pick up free agent, relievers and whatnot, and maybe develop some through the minors. But for the most part, like, they're trying to stockpile their horses so they have enough through 162 games. You know what I mean? Obviously, it stinks that, the one game where the rubber match that the Reds like want to have that series win, that Nick Martinez doesn't have a great outing, but you know what I mean, that we got another series coming up against the Rangers and then against the Brew Crew, which you mentioned that the who lost their opening series?
Pirates.
The Brewers got crushed in New York.
Oh yeah.
My goodness. I hope
did you see the Yankees bats? Those things need to be investigated, man. That's wild.
Yeah, there might be something to it. Yeah, some court bats stuff or whatever. Anyway, the Yankees though have that short porch. What should be investigated is why that porch is so short out there in right field. Like anyone that's left-handed could hit a home run over that fence easily if the wind's blowing out like even a little bit. You know what I mean? Just pop flies. But anyway, that's another thing. But yeah, hopefully the Brewers' spirit is crushed and they'll be not themselves necessarily this coming week, which we'll preview in a little bit later, coming up for the Reds week ahead. But yeah, it stinks. You'd like to have Martinez have his best stuff, but at the same time, it's a lot more starts to come, a lot more series to win. Giants are a decent team. It's not like we were going up against the Marlins. You know what I mean? The Pirates obviously are going to pirate, but you know what I mean? To lose against the Marlins or like to lose against like a White Sox or Angels type series, that would be a little bit more disheartening. The Giants are a decent franchise. They're not necessarily their World Series contenders like they were in the mid 2010s, but they're decent and they'll be potentially competitive for a playoff spot, kind of like the same spot that the Reds are in at the moment. But yeah, I don't know. Any other takeaways from this weekend or any thoughts that you had?
I did see a comment on here. It went away, but it was somebody asked about, do you see Jeimer Candelario sticking at third base? And I like that comment because I think he's a better defender than what he gets credit for, but I don't think he's a great defender, if that makes sense. So I would like to see, in a perfect world, we're going to talk about him later, but I would love to see Noelvi Marte get back on track. I would like to see Espinal maybe play more at third if he's going to be playing. And then Lux, Lux can play the infield, but we're short on outfield depth right now. So, yeah, it's hard. I think he's going to play there for the foreseeable future just because he's all we got. But I don't love the idea of him staying at third base. So let's just say if he's playing third base past the All-Star break, then there's probably more problems than what we have currently.
Yeah, ideal world right at this point in time is I'd like him to be the DH and Spencer Steer just rest or IL or rehab, whatever needs to be done. Something's not right. His at-bats opening day and today they weren't, I guess, promising. Like, you weren't hitting the ball hard. I'm sure we could look up some, barrel statistics that kind of point to that. I think they might hopefully they'll hold him back for his betterment. You know what I mean? Like, this shouldn't be a situation like CES last year where he got hit on the hand. They said, okay, try to play through it. They're on a road trip out west, I believe. So they didn't necessarily have time to like call, send him down and call someone up type of situation. So like he played through it and then he ended up needing wrist surgery. Right. So like, I really would hate that if that's going to be the Spencer Steer story in 2025. Like, the Reds, please don't put a guy out there that isn't ready to contribute, or at least, you know what I mean? Like, Spencer Steer's not going to pull himself out. You know what I mean? So like, He wants to contribute to the ball club. He wants to help win, get wins. And he's obviously going to try to do that in the DH capacity because he's not healthy enough to play the outfield. So, like, let's be realistic. We've got some guys we're going to touch on at AAA that are mashing already, and we are, small sample size as well, 3 games in, but the signs are there, and we'll be obviously keeping tabs on them this week as well to make sure that hopefully that we got some guys that are hopefully ready to be called up. You already mentioned one, Marte, but another one is Will Benson. And just to go through it, the Louisville Bats started their season on Friday, March 28th, and they won their first game on Friday, 9-4, behind some really big hits by Benson and Marte and Hines. And then they ended up following up the Saturday game, winning it 4-1. They had some small ball. They produced some, they produced some runs. You know what I mean? They weren't dependent on the long ball. They got some single RBI singles there. I think Reese Hines and Will Benson as well, again, to be the heroes, getting RBI singles to get the game done. And then today they had a Reds Sunday where they just bottomed out. I think they lost 13-4. So not necessarily, sparkling start to the season for Louisville, but lots of positive signs are there. What are your takeaways from the first weekend of the Louisville Bats?
Benson is doing everything I want him to do right now. He's batting .429 and 14 at bats. He's got the home run, 2 RBIs. He's got an OPS of 1,072. So let's go, Will Benson. I'm a big believer in Will Benson. I want him right, first of all, but I want him on the big league club, and I want him to produce. There's too many Will Benson haters out there, and when you bet $1.88, it's easy to pick on him, but if he's pipping home runs left and right, I'm here for it. And then Reese Hines, we desperately need outfield depth, like bad. So if he can at least be a serviceable outfielder, get him up, because Hurtabees with the base running blunder today, and he's not the greatest hitter. So I think he's the easiest one to send down. I like Blake Dunn a lot. I think Blake Dunn needs to play more. I think Francona said that too. He wants him to be more than just a platoon guy. And Marte, Marte, his first hit on Friday night, right? It was 112 miles an hour off the bat. So it's would have been the hardest hit ball, I think, for the Reds all weekend. So I'm here for it. Benson for sure. We need that, especially if Fraley's not going to produce, and I hate that for Fraley because I like him as a person a lot. It's not great, and we have a lot of guys coming up that can do what we need them to do.
Yeah, for sure. The one thing also, more than just depth for the outfield, is that we just don't have any pop. We don't have any power. Like, Fraley has unfortunately become singles Fraley. And maybe he might be even having more diminishing returns this year, at least so far. I don't like to say that so early. Obviously, we're always couching this first 3 games small sample size, but it hasn't been great early for Mr. Fraley. Friedel didn't play today, but he doesn't have necessarily lots of power either. And then Lux is basically out there in left field just filling in as a normally an infielder. So he's got decent infielder power, but for outfielders, it's not great power. The thing also is that even more than just the outfield, like our bench is just, it doesn't have that pop. Like Santiago Espinal, serviceable guy, company guy, love him, but he doesn't have power. Although I'll take that back. Austin Wynns today, coming off the bench, home run.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm all in for the Austin Wynns, month and a half that he's going to have. I'd love for him to produce for this club, and even if it's just on Sundays and getaway days, like I'm all for that. Let's go, Austin. We'll cheer you on. We are the biggest fans for Austin Wynns for sure, because
we're an Austin Wynns show.
Yeah, for sure, because we were thinking like he might be the odd man out and might be DFA'd pretty soon, but at least until Spencer or Stevenson comes back, right? But the other bench players we got. Who else is off the bench? Wins there. It's Espinal. But yeah, it's just
and done.
Yeah, and those guys are more slap speedsters and whatnot. So it's difficult, right? It's not necessarily a most ideal situation. And then I guess if you have Steer coming off the bench in certain situations, he's not at full power either, right? So I don't know. It's something that obviously we've detailed a lot about Marte and Benson's struggles and what they need to work on to get back to the big league club. But I don't know, if the guys aren't getting the job done at the big club, accountability was the big thing that we were all hearing out of Francona's corner, out of everyone who's pro Terry Francona and anti David Bell, is that everyone's going to be held accountable. And like you've already detailed a couple base running errors. I think Gavin Lux had a base running error on Saturday that didn't necessarily affect the game, but I think he ran into an out. So it just ended up being a situation where I think he's gonna have to try to get to know the guys, and hopefully there isn't any I don't know, inconsistencies with the supposed way it's going to be gone about, because we've obviously also detailed the Stuart Fairchild incident, or the DFA situation, and I'm not saying that Stuart Fairchild will make us a better team on Sunday, but at least we'd have that outfield depth that we don't have to put Santiago Espinal out in right field type of thing. So I don't know. There's a lot of questions. Obviously, when you aren't winning, every single game like the stinking Dodgers are going 5-0, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's always going to be questions. There's going to be things. There's going to be talking points. But for the most part, I'm really encouraged at the AAA club. We haven't had any of the big guys, I think, pitch yet for the bats, as far as I could tell. But we definitely are encouraged by the bats. Man, it's getting a lot of phones buzzing with the stinking tornado drill.
I was thinking we were going to cut it short. It got pretty dicey here for a second.
Is it really? Are you all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just
we're
let
good.
me know.
We're good.
Give me a signal. So, yeah. Any other thoughts or any other comments about Triple? I think their next game, it'll be on Tuesday. Usually minor leaguers, they take off Monday because Monday is usually call-up day. So AAA Louisville will be at Omaha for 6 games. The usual kind of minor league setup where they go on long road trips or have long homestands. But they'll be back in action on Tuesday, April 1st, and playing at Omaha until Sunday the 6th. So we'll be keeping tabs on that and have an update next Sunday about how the Bats did in Omaha.
Yeah, and shout out to everybody. We got 61 live viewers. We're the Red Hot Reds podcast. We come to you live every Sunday, 8 p.m. It's a little bit of a different show today, being the first one and being severe weather. So things aren't going as planned, but we're doing all right. And thanks a lot for joining us. And but we got some cool things coming down throughout the weeks too. We got a couple interviews lined up. We're pretty excited about them. Those won't be live. Those will be recorded, just for reasons. And yeah, so if we don't have an interview, maybe we'll pop on live during a weekday and we'll chat. And maybe do one of our scoreboard stumpers with the chat. Just get you guys involved. So thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you to Doug and Jordan as well for lending us this platform and getting us out there and letting us stream on all their platforms at X, YouTube, and Facebook. You said, Ricky, all the places that you can find us. Hopefully you'll be able to tell a friend, have subscribed. We're trying to build this brand, build this channel up. Ohio Sports Talk has been doing a great job the last couple of years with Jordan and Doug. They cover everything. We have the lucky job of just having to focus on the Reds and the minors, I guess. So we got a couple teams to follow, but I think our job is maybe a little less stressful, or maybe it could be because we have to live and die with every win or loss for the Redlegs. But yeah, transitioning, I think just a little small segment. Hopefully we won't have the same guy, but who would be your Red of the week?
It's a toss-up. I think I'm going to go with Hunter Greene, just based off of his outing on Thursday. I think he's solidifying himself as a top, I'll just say it, top 5 pitcher in the National League.
For sure.
He finished 8th in the Cy Young. You say top 8. I could go that far too. There's some dogs in the National League. So we'll top 8's respectable, maybe I'll say top 5. But his outing, phenomenal. That's what you want to see from a guy that's your ace. So who's your Red of the week?
Yeah, just to touch on Hunter Greene. Also, like the stuff you want as the opening day starter when the ballpark is packed. Obviously, you want to come out to the ballpark all the time whenever Hunter Greene is pitching. Whatever the situation, if he's going up against the lowly Pirates, or if he's going, well, I guess he could go up against Skeens, but yeah, Hunter Greene, definitely, that's a worthy contender. My Red of the week would be Matt McLain, Mr. Second base, 2 home runs the last 2 games, has looked decent defensively as well. I'm not necessarily understanding why he hit leadoff. I'm coming around to think that your take's going to age well with he's the best Reds hitter. I mean, obviously, Ellie's
Yeah,
ceiling.
Ellie's Ellie.
Yeah. Ellie's ceiling is higher. He could be Eric Davis type stuff, right? Easily, like maybe even better than Eric Davis type stuff. But like Matt McLain, I think he has less holes in his swing. He has better contact rates. Like he's also just like the spark plug that you need. Obviously, I guess if you really want to get the game off right, you put him at, you start him off in the number one leadoff spot as well. But I don't know. I guess he didn't have anyone else to really kind of hit that spot. Like I don't know. I don't think you want Santiago Espinal leading off, or I don't even know who else. Like Lux leading off, maybe. I guess it's lefty. Yeah. So there's obviously some thought process gone into it, but he's definitely, I think, come back and is kind of, even though they went 1-2 this weekend, it's signs of progress. Also, shout out to Ellie for having a decent week where he was taking walks and he wasn't swinging at pitches outside the zone. I think there was something that Reds Daily, Greg Kuffner put there. I think in the first 2 games, he didn't swing at any pitches outside the zone. So like that to me is like, obviously it's not going to win you ball games by not swinging at pitches outside the zone, but it's definitely not going to hurt you, right? Like that's the thing. It's like the 2024 Reds had kind of a theme of running into outs, striking out in the wrong times, not making contact, not making timely plays, timely hitting situations and whatnot. So it's kind of like, if we can eliminate that kind of stuff, and if Ellie is going to be the leader on that, and it's going to be the guy that's going to be, taking walks, getting on base, or doing what's ever necessary to not strike out, I mean, hey, I'm okay with going 1-2 against the Giants, and then let's see what we could do the rest of the way.
Yeah, for sure. The Giants, they could mess around and win 100 games. So let's not act like they're slouches. They play in the same division as the Dodgers, so they get overlooked.
And the Dodgers,
but yes, and then the Padres. The Padres are 3-0. So that's a tough division. I hate to be a Rockies fan, but going back to Hunter Greene a little bit too. I think it was Friday. He held the largest, what he claims to be the largest free baseball gear giveaway in history, where he gave away gear to youth in the greater Cincinnati area. He held it at the Madisonville Recreation Center. So, shout out Hunter Greene, the person too, because he's just he's who you want on your team. And for him to be the pitcher that he is and the person that he is, we are lucky to have him here.
Did they name captains? I know last year Bell named India, or was that like unofficial? I don't even know. Like baseball is not like hockey where you got to have like a captain. You know what I mean? Like, do they have captains this year?
I don't think so. I don't think we've had an official captain since Larkin. If I remember right, I think he's the last captain that we've had.
Thank you for watching the Red Hot Reds podcast, presented to you by Ohio Sports Talk.